In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes 1000 Authors Moxie Business Show.
You want now?
Well, we kind of haven't swapped over yet, but I thought if we merged them for a little while before we brand.
Just confuse the listener.
Yeah,
cool.
Which is fairly standard practice, really. I'm Vicky Fraser, and this is my husband, Joe.
Hello.
Hello. Joe is feeling very self-conscious today because he feels like he looks a mess. Basically, he should have had a shave and a haircut by now.
Yeah.
I
haven't really got up. It's early in the morning. We're supposed to be renovating a house, but here we are doing a podcast.
It's absolutely not early in the morning. But the weather is grim outside, which is why we're drinking tea. Cheers. Chin chin. Yes, tea. Tea.
Tea.
Which is the fuel many businesses, including mine, were built on. So, we also have Whiskey here today. If you're watching this, you can see Whiskey there. She is one of the most beautiful cats in the world, if not the most beautiful cat in the world.
Whiskey is tolerating being on my knee because she has just come in from outside where it is throwing it down with rain and cold.
Yeah.
So she is now sitting on my knee, just using me as a towel, basically.
Yeah, she made some poor life choices and now she's regretting them. Right then, so this week we are talking about more strategies to help you beat the blank page of doom and writer's block.
Right, because this is one of the things that people say, well, I can't possibly write a book, couldn't possibly do it.
No, or just write anything, in fact.
Can't write an article, can't write this, can't write that.
Yeah.
I just look at a blank piece of paper and that's that.
Yes. And I was thinking this morning, what is that kind of writer's block like? And I was thinking about this. I used to suffer quite badly from insomnia. Have you ever had insomnia?
Yeah, when I was at university, that was mostly through drinking too much and staying up too late and yeah.
So I was thinking about this because I think sometimes it's a little bit similar. So if you've ever really struggled to sleep and not kind of just, I can't, I'm finding it difficult to get to sleep, but that twitchy, panicky, staring into the void, teetering on the edge of madness insomnia. And the longer it goes on, the worse it is. There is a reason sleep deprivation is used as a form of torture. Because it's torturous.
Horrific.
It's really awful. And you know how sometimes it just feels like sleep is just there and you're almost managed to fall asleep and then you grab for it desperately and then it kind of slides away again.
Right.
And it's like you're trying too hard to fall asleep and so it kind of disappears. And that is sometimes what the blank page of doom feels like to me. There are different reasons for struggling to write. That it's not always the same reason behind it. This is why I really, really object to the phrase writer's block. Because it's not really a real thing and we'll do a podcast about that. It's, that idea itself at some point. But also it oversimplifies it and it just says, you're just stuck writing. It doesn't really get into what the reasons behind it are.
Sure.
It's just a big excuse for kind of letting yourself off the hook. And also for not even letting yourself off the hook, but it's like, it's this big thing that society says, it's okay. All writers struggle from it. It's like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and wallow in my writer's blockness.
Lack of achievement.
Lack of achievement, yeah. It's like, it's just one of those things that happens. Yeah. It's not one of those things that happens, and it doesn't have to, and there are ways to beat it. So I wanted to do this podcast about one specific cause of not being able to get your words down on paper. And when I was thinking about insomnia, this is something that I think is going to sound familiar to people. So there's a couple of reasons for it. One of the reasons is that you've almost got an idea and it's almost there, like right on the edge of your brain, but you can't quite grab it. And every time you get a little bit closer to it, it slips away, like that sleep when you're trying to desperately get to sleep. And it's you've almost got an idea, but it's just like, I'm not going to stick around. I'm just going to slide around so you can't quite grab hold of it, like a bar of soap in the bath, Or the other reason, which is kind of related, is that you have too many ideas and they kind of all race across your brain and you can't grab any one of them because there's just too many of them. And I think both of those are quite... They're both, to me, they're both sound and feel a little bit like that kind of insomnia.
Okay.
And nothing is really solid. And that's when I start to get really, really frustrated. It's like, I can't, it's almost there, but I can't write it down. And that's when I start like throwing things at flies when they get in and, gradually descend into teeth grinding Madness. You don't
Right.
see this because you're at work.
Sometimes I come home to it.
And so, yes, it's very bad. But I learned long ago that there is absolutely no point in sitting at my desk and trying to force it.
Right.
Because it just, the harder you try, the more slippery it becomes and the more rage-filled or woe-filled or despair-filled I become.
Okay.
And so it's a sure sign that I haven't finished thinking yet. Or perhaps I haven't finished researching. So I think a lot of definitely a lot of business owners and quite a lot of writers don't really understand how much thinking is part of writing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I think, a malady of the modern world. It's that presenteeism thing. As long as you're sitting at your desk between 9 and 5, everything's great and you're being productive. And that's just so much bullshit.
Yeah.
So much bullshit. And it's a massive, I think, cause of lack of productivity in the world. And so we think unless we're actually doing something, like making marks on paper or recording a podcast or doing something, it's like you're told off at school I remember being told off at school for staring out of the window and daydreaming. And that is just an appalling thing to say to a child.
Did you have something to do, though? Had they just set you a whole bunch of things to do?
Well, usually it was when I was set an essay or something, and my staring out of the window was my thinking time. And that's exactly what people think, if I'm supposed to be writing a chapter of my book or writing an article or, writing something for a client or doing whatever, if I'm staring out of the window, I'm not just staring into space with goldfish going around, I'm thinking. Or if I go for a walk, it's everything kind of churns away in the background. But we are conditioned from those early school days, and I really hope that kids today have more luck with, with that kind of bullshit than I did. But we're conditioned to think that unless we're doing something active all the time, busy, we're not being productive, and that's nonsense. So it's really important that you give yourself time to think things over, and you don't plonk yourself down at the desk from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. if that's your writing time and think, well, this is my writing time, so this is where I have to be. Go for a walk. If that's where your ideas happen, go for a walk. Take a notebook with you, just in case, but churn things over. So you might not have finished thinking yet, so make sure you're thinking, but also you might not have finished researching yet. So I think one of the big things that stops people from writing, whether it's an article or a sales page or a book or whatever, is you just haven't gathered enough research yet. And so that's super important as well. And what I wanted to do today was give you a technique for beating that blank page and coming up with the idea. If you're struggling to, sketch out your idea and come up with the idea for your book and get the outline down, I want to give you something today that will basically solve that problem for you. And also will be a fantastic way of providing the absolute best testimonials you could possibly want from your customers. So I feel like this is where we need a little bit of interruption music for between parts 1 and 2.
We really need to get ourselves a xylophone or something, don't we?
We do. Well, I'm learning to play the guitar, aren't I? I had my first lesson in 3 months yesterday. I'm doing scales at the moment, and major and minor chords, except for 2 minor chords because they are hand manglers. So I will compose a little bit of music on my guitar. Why are you laughing?
No, that'd be great.
It'll be better than last week. Should we do last week's?
Okay.
Do-de-do-do.
Part 2.
Do-de-do-do.
Part 2. Part 2.
I feel like we're losing listeners by the second. Right, so
Moving on.
the lost art of listening. Whether you are writing a book or a webpage or an article or whatever the hell you are writing, talk to your clients. Listen to your clients.
Mm-hmm.
Take them out for lunch. I don't know, whatever.
This is part of your thinking process for your blank page.
Yeah, part of my thinking and researching process. So I go and ask my ideal clients and customers, when I want to understand exactly how I can help them, I go and ask them a series of questions. Now, I got 6 of these questions from Sean D'Souza. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
And I added the first one myself because I think it is the right place to start.
Okay.
So when you are talking to your clients and customers, ask the questions in the order that I'm about to give them to you, because that's the order that they will build the story for you. Okay? And sit and listen and let the conversation flow naturally, and do not skip the last question because it's where some of your best information will come from. So, the 7 crucial questions you need to ask your ideal customer or your current best customers and clients.
Okay.
Okay, Joe, what's question number 1?
What reason did you have for looking for my product or service? What were you struggling with before you found me?
Okay, so that sets the scene. That gets right to the nitty-gritty of what they were really struggling to do. So if you are, for example, a web designer, you might ask your ideal customer, your best customer, you might sit them down and ask them, what were you struggling with before you found me? What was making you tear your hair out?
Bad web designers. Web designers who didn't understand sales. Web designers who just were excited at putting spangly things on the internet and not actually interested in doing what I wanted.
Yeah. If you're a gardener, you might say, before you met me, what was your big problem? What were you struggling with? Why did you start looking for a gardener? That's a really good question to ask, because that will get right to the nitty-gritty of the problem that you can solve. And that, by the way, I'll come to the common thread in a moment, but that's the thing you really want to be listening out for at the beginning for the big idea for your book, because that's the big problem that you're going to be wanting to solve.
Tells you what their pain is.
Tells you what their pain is, yeah.
Tells you what you are solving.
Yes, it does. So that's the first question. Question number 2.
What was your main concern about working with me or buying my product? What worried you the most before you forked over the cash?
So that's a really good question, because that's going to pull out people's objections to basically buying your product. Sometimes they will say, so for example, for my book course, when I launched my book course, I was talking to Dom, for example.
Hi, Dom.
Hi, Dom. And he said, yeah, it was quite a lot of money and I was a little bit concerned about it. Which is a really good thing for me to know, because that's something that I can then address in my sales pitch. Yes, it's quite a lot of money, but here's why it's going to be worth it. And then you can put testimonials from people like Dom, because he's like, oh my God, it's paid for itself so many times over, Yeah. So that kind of thing that's a really important thing. Other concerns might be, you're always going to think, oh, people are going to be worried about the cost of it. You've got to show them that it's an investment, not a cost. But people are going to have other concerns as well. So I know for a fact that some of my other book clients, coaching clients, people who are writing their own books, one of their main concerns is not going to be the cash. It might be at the back of their mind, but the main concern might be, what if nobody wants to read my book? What's the point in me doing this even? So you need to ask that question, because what you think are people's main objections might not be actually.
Yeah.
And it's really important for you to know that, because that's stuff that you're going to have to address in your book. When you write your book, the whole point of this is to get inside people's heads and allow you to write something that will really genuinely help people. And also, if you're selling a product, you need to know so that you can overcome those objections.
Absolutely.
So question number 3.
Now that you've worked with me or bought my product, how have you found it? What happened?
So here you're asking really if your product or service has solved the problem for them. And they're going to tell you, if you're getting one-word answers, then just probe a little bit. But they're going to tell you here, oh yeah, I wrote my book and now I'm on my 5th book in Dom's case. So that's the thing that they got from you, and they might elaborate a bit, they might not. If they don't elaborate, or even if they do, you can then move on to question 4, which is,
what specific feature did you like most about working with me or my product? Why?
That's really good, because if you just say to people, what did you like about it? Which the first question is a bit more general, have you found it? What happened? The second question gets really specific, because people, unless you make them think about the details, they often don't pull them out of their brains.
They just go, oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
But if you say to them, what specific feature did you like most? They'll actually think about that, and they'll be like, you know what? It was the fact that you held my hand all the way through the process. Or, actually,
you made it feel possible, or
you gave me the confidence to even get started.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So you don't know what specific feature people are going to like, and you will probably be surprised. I'm often surprised by what people say to me when I ask them that question. So that's really, really important, because that's going to give you a lot of clues as to what problem you're really solving for people.
Yeah.
So what's question number 5?
What are 3 other benefits of working with someone like me or buying a product like this? What did they do for you?
So that's a good question, because that gets them to elaborate a little bit more. So they've already told you the main thing. Now you're asking for 3 other things, because there's never just one thing that people get out of working with you. So again, it makes people think really specifically about what they got from their product, what they got from working with you, and what really they liked about it and what they found valuable. And that's really useful.
Yeah, if you're a mechanic and you're thinking, well, I'm a pretty good value mechanic for the local area, but somebody might say something like, well, you know what, you spoke to me like I was a human being and you didn't treat me like an idiot. Or it might be, you made it really easy and you brought a courtesy car round and took my car away.
Yeah.
Or it could be all kinds of little features and things that you do that you just do because that's who you are and that's how you behave. But to them, it distinguishes you from other people. other products.
By the way, if you're a mechanic and you would like to make an absolute shitload of money, make yourself really female friendly. Make your reception area nice and clean. It doesn't have to be pink and frilly, and in fact it shouldn't be, but it shouldn't be covered in oil and men's magazines. Talk to women like they know what they're talking about, because quite a lot of us do actually know what we're talking about, and just make us feel welcome in your place, because quite a lot of garages are quite blokey and it's a bit daunting.
Darling.
Yeah, it's a bit daunting to walk in. Don't have girly mags, girly calendars plastered all over your walls, at least not where your customers can see them, because again, it's really off-putting. We don't like to be objectified, So and we will pay more for that kind of thing, because that's the kind of benefit that we'll be like, you know what, I just felt really comfortable there. Because I've been to garages before with my motorbike where the guy has talked to you about my motorbike, hasn't he? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, you're a dick. So we went elsewhere. And, he lost that custom, and we went elsewhere to somewhere that did make me feel comfortable and treated me like an actual person. Yeah. So
15 years of motorcycle maintenance he did not get.
Yes. So that was awesome. But that's a little bit flippant, but genuinely, if you're a mechanic listening to this and you own a garage and you want to make a lot more money, specialise in women.
Yeah.
Not even kidding. If you want to make a lot of money, specialise in LGBTQ+ people. Make them feel super fucking comfortable, and they will tell everybody. So, yeah. Okay, question number 6.
Would you recommend me to anyone else? Why?
That's a really important question, and it's one that we don't feel entirely comfortable asking, because it feels like a little bit blowing our own trumpets. The other questions are all kind of less personal, I think, to us as business owners. But you need to ask that question, because you'll get some really cool answers. Again, you'll probably get some slightly different answers from the answers you've got previously. Because if you're asking somebody, would you recommend me to anyone else? Quite often they say, I already have. And this is why. But that you'll just get a little bit more information out of people, because when they think, why would I recommend you to someone else? It'll be something slightly different from what they've told you before. Yeah. So that's
because I think you'd get on with my grandma.
Yeah. Which tells you a lot. Tells you a lot about the way you work and who you are. And final question, Joe.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Do not skip this question, because what will happen is the person that you're talking to will say, no, I don't think so. I think that's covered it. And then there'll be a pause. Do not fill that pause with words. Just sit and wait, and they will go, but you know what? And then 5 minutes of absolute gold dust will come out of their mouths. And it's a little bit like, and GPs will tell you this, that people will come in and they'll talk about their minor ailments, and they'll be like, I'm a bit worried about this, And as they're on their way out the door, they'll turn around and say, can I just ask you something? And that will be the real reason that they've come to the doctors. That will be the thing that they're really worried about and they didn't want to ask. And it'll come out at the last minute. So ask that final question. Is there anything else you would like to add?
You might get some recommendations. You might get some thoughts as to what would improve your product, your service. You might get all kinds of things out of that. Actually,
yeah, this needs to be an 8-question thing.
I was going to say, there's no question saying, is there any improvements I could make?
Which is really odd, because when I've been doing my testimonials for my new book business, I've been asking another question, which is, how can I make it better? How can I improve my service? So I would say that as well. And in fact, I would make that question number 7. And then question number 8, is there anything else you would like to add? But yeah, ask if you can improve it. Sometimes people won't be able to think of anything, and sometimes they'll come up with something that will just take your product from great to amazing. Because people don't actually feel that comfortable offering unsolicited advice. But if you say to them, tell me how I can make this better for you, they will absolutely answer you. So do that. And then I would just add one more question, specifically if you're writing a book. Just throw in there, would you be interested in a book that would help you understand and solve your biggest challenge? And if you've just had this massive conversation with people, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, you know what, yeah, I would. And then you might get some more useful information about how, I've looked for a book and I couldn't find anything that looked any good, or...
Yeah, there's no advice on this, I Googled it.
Yeah, or, the books that I found are really textbooky or really business speaky, and, that kind of thing. So ask that question as well, because the other reason that you do that is if they say they would be interested in a book, they're going to be one of the first people who buy it when you write it. So you're already, you know you're going to get a certain number of people buying your book.
Which is nice.
Which is nice, yeah. So these questions tell your customers or your ideal reader's story. They start at the beginning and they take them right to the end, which is the place where they want to be. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just tickling Whisks.
Okay.
She's purring.
She is. I don't know. Can you hear her purring, guys? Probably hear it raining as well in an inside-outside room. Okay, so the reason we do this is your ideal clients are going to tell you exactly what they find most valuable about you and your business. They will show you what their biggest struggle is and how you can help them fix it. And that is your big book idea. That's the thing that you can start writing about. So if you're really super stuck on your blank page of doom, go and talk to your ideal customers. Each person you speak to will have a different story to tell, but there will be common threads running through their tales. And the big problem that you're solving for them will almost certainly be the same for each person. They might have different motivations and they might have different emotions come out of that, and it will affect them in different ways, but the core of their big problem will be the same for pretty much everybody. And then all of the stories that they tell you and the nuances in their journeys will give you so much to write about in your book.
Yeah.
So much. So the common thread that you find is your big book idea. So find out what that is and write it down, and then you can use it to create your outline, and suddenly you don't have a blank page anymore. So yeah, listen to your ideal clients, basically. I think.
What if you don't have an ideal client? What's the process of finding your ideal client? Are you talking about existing clients?
Yeah, talk to your best existing client. Doing an ideal client profile is an entirely different podcast.
Mm-hmm.
An ideal reader profile, but you can start that process by talking to your current best clients,
best customers.
Yeah, because we forget about that. Because I think that's a big mistake that a lot of marketers who teach business owners how to find their ideal client avatar, they miss that. They're like, oh, we must do this framework and we must do this and we must do that, and it becomes this massive daunting task because it's a really difficult thing to do, put together an ideal client profile. And what I find a lot of kind of gurus forget to suggest is go talk to the client who pays you the most money, your most valuable client, the one who's stuck with you for longest, your most loyal client. Go and talk to them.
And just the very act of doing this, talking to them, shows that you value them. It's a slightly different interaction to the one you normally have, which is where you service their car or you cut their hair or you do whatever it is that you do for them.
Yeah.
And they pay you. It's quite a thoughtful and interesting thing to do, because I think it shows the customer that you want to improve, that you are interested, that you do value them.
Yeah.
I think it's quite good for the customer as well.
It is. It's good for everybody, and it builds relationships as well, because you will find out more about them, not just for how you can improve your business, but as a person. And I find that quite often my best clients become my friends as well. They don't usually start out that way. Very occasionally I'll start out kind of doing some work with a friend, but almost always my absolute best clients become friends as well, people that I will go and see socially, because they are, they're my kind of people. They're good, interesting people. So you will get you'll enrich your own life by doing this. And if you think as well, like Joe said, it's just another way to interact with them. But people love nothing more than talking about themselves. And, we all do. We all love talking about ourselves. We are our own biggest fans,
I think there's another question we should ask them.
Oh, what?
I think there should be a question where you let them know that they're valued and lovely and that you appreciate them very much and that today you're buying them a coffee. But I also think you should ask them the question, is there anything else I could take off your hands?
Yes, that is a very good question.
Is there anything else that bugs you in this area? What I work in?
Yeah, that is a very good question, because although you might not use it for this book, it might be the idea for book number 2. And certainly for immediately offering them another service or product that they might want. So that has an immediate benefit as well as a book number 2 benefit. Nice, Joe. Thanks for that. It's not all goldfish, is it?
It's not all goldfish.
No. Right then, we are going to have to go out into the rain and start working on the inside of my new office because it's really grim out there.
So I'm going to do some electrics inside and Vicky's going to dig a trench outside.
No, really not. But we will be back same time next week, and we will be talking about, bear with me, we will be talking about how to outline your book, another beating writer's block method. We're going to be talking about how to outline your book.
Cool.
Which I think we've talked about before, but we're going to talk about it again. In the meantime, please subscribe and go onto iTunes and rate us and give us a review. 5 stars. And if you know anybody else who you think would be interested in this podcast, please share us with them. And if you have listened to every single episode, hi Yinka!
Hi Yinka!
You will get email me and tell me that and send me your postal address and I will send you a silly little gift to say thank you so much. So by the time Yinka hears this episode, she will have had her silly little gift.
Will she?
Yeah, she will. I'm sending it tomorrow. And we'll be back same time next week.
Cool.
Oh, finally, pre-order my book. It's available now to pre-order. It's a £5 discount if you pre-order it, because I am, that kind of person. And you can get it from moxiebooks.co.uk/pre-order the book, all one word, and the link will be in the show notes. So I would love it if you pre-order a copy. There will also be some goodies available for people who are pre-ordering that won't be available for anybody else. Some little bits and pieces, some useful stuff to get you started. And you will also get an email series straight away that will help you build a writing habit. And everybody who buys a copy of my book will get a free membership of the 1000 Authors Club, which when I've got 1000 authors, will go up to the 10,000 Authors Club. And you'll get a free monthly printed newsletter full of all kinds of useful writing, indie publishing and book tips.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's worth doing, I think. Yeah, for £15, you get all of that shit. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Right, thanks, Joe.
No worries.
We'll be back same time next week.
Bye.
Bye!
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.